Hello there fellow modellers, Steve here. Now as you can see I'm at home now, I'm not at work. I'll have to think up a tagline for that, that's just something with a bit more go in it. Anyway, I had quite a few comments for my last video and I had one that sort of really stood out. It was from somebody called Heck You Bosher. It was either from Canada or America. And he enjoyed it and he says, halfway through I was drawn to the picture on the back wall and I found that hilarious. It's actually just a nuts calendar. I don't know whether you have nuts in America or what, just a pin-up calendar. Anyway, last video I promised that I would show you some of the builds that I've got on and I would get some of my models out, which I have done. Now I'll have to move about a bit. Right, I'll get onto it now. Right, and we'll start off with this one, which is the Cutty Sark. Now I was very pleased with how this kit turned out, because doing all that rigging really tested my patience. It took me absolutely ages to do it all, and it's come out really good, even though the kit is about, God, 1989, 1990 I did this. And it's lasted very well. I hope you can get good side views of it. But I think it's a very good kit. And it's probably the only sailing ship I ever did. Bit of a close-up. Bearing in mind all these models, they're probably very dusty. So they'll not be like clean. But it could add to the weathering. Sails are a bit dusty. Been at sea for donkey's years. Right, we'll put that down. And now we'll have this, which is HMS Suffolk. One of the County class heavy cruisers that were built for the Royal Navy and the Royal Australian Navy in the interwar years, but heavily restricted to 10,000 tons and 8-inch guns due to the Washington Naval Treaty. But they gave sterling service during the Second World War and possibly even the Korean War, I'm not sure. It was a good kit to build. As you can see, it's very fine lines, handsome looking ship, especially with the 3 buff coloured funnels. Now this is in its pre-war colour scheme. Obviously when it was shadowing the Bismarck, which it did off the coast of Greenland, it had anti-dazzle camouflage and whatnot. Now I don't know what happened to this ship. I don't think it was sunk during the war. It was probably paid off after the war, I'm not sure, I'll have to research it, but anybody can. Close up of it, and I've actually put a bit rigging and aerials on. As you can see, it's a typical British cruiser hull. If you look at all the cruisers that were built for the Royal Navy, from the light, which is HMS Ajax, through to the Town class, and then onto the County class, they all had the same basic hull form. But I've read that they were good seakeepers, so that's all that matters really. I'll put that away. And now we'll move on to this, which is the USS Arizona, the famous ship that was sunk when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and which is still there to this day, with the memorial built over it. One of a class of 2, its sister ship, the USS Pennsylvania, was also in the where damaged in the attack on Pearl Harbor, but only very lightly because it was in dry dock at the time. I've put a bit of rigging on that, and it's also got the American Stars and Stripes flag. If you notice, the Americans went for their float planes at the stern, not amidships like we did. And it's obviously post-modernisation because it doesn't have the birdcage masts that were a feature of American battleships at the time. A nice clean ship. I'll pop that down. And now we're on to one of my favourites. This is a big one, this. This is HMS Repulse, who together with our sister ship HMS Renown were basically a stretched R-class battleship minus X-turret. Long fine lines, a very beautiful ship with its splinter camouflage and this ship was also sunk by the Japanese off Malaya about 3 days after Pearl Harbor, along with the battleship the Prince of Wales. And I've got a bit of rigging on there as well. A very beautiful ship. You can tell I'm into ships, can't you? I'll put that down. And now we'll go on to the aircraft. I've built quite a few models of various things. Now this is a McDonnell Douglas F4B Phantom II in the markings of Fighter Squadron VF-74, flying from the USS Forrestal, Vietnam era I think, as you can tell by the markings. The first US fighter, Navy fighter, designed without a gun, but later Marks had a gun fitted. But it was adapted by a lot of countries' air forces, and only one other navy used it as a shipboard fighter, which was our own Royal Navy, when 892 Squadron flew from HMS Ark Royal. This kit is about 1989, 1990. I built a lot of models then. Lovely markings as well. Very colourful. Right, we'll go on to the next one. Which is this big brute of a fighter. It's a Sukhoi, I hope I've pronounced that right, Su-27D Sea Flanker. As you can see, it has a Russian naval ensign on there. I think these will probably as derivative of the Su-33 and possibly the Su-50 are still flying from the Admiral Kuznetsov. I hope I've pronounced that right. This just looks like it's got power written all over it. I should have... If you see the missiles underneath. Now for some reason I've painted the wheels green. I don't know why I did that. I just fancied a bit of a change of colour. And we'll put that down. And then we'll go back a bit and we'll have this, which is a P51 Mustang in the markings of Captain Don Gentile. I don't know what fighter squadron he belonged to, but he was with the 4th Fighter Group. Obviously the first aeroplane that could fly all the way to Berlin and back, escorting the bombers. A true thoroughbred. And lovely colourful markings. And now, oh, something's fell off. What is that? Oh, I know it. Right, we're under one of my favourite aircraft now, which is the Grumman F14 Tomcat, in the markings of Fighter Squadron VF-84, flying from the USS Nimitz. Look at that, skull and crossbones. Made famous by the film Top Gun. Now whatever you think about that film, whether you think it's excellent or it's the biggest load of tosh going, you cannot beat the aerial scenes. They're out of this world. Also featured in a lesser known film made in about 1980 called The Final Countdown, which has a bit of sci-fi in it. And it's quite a good film, and it also features VF-84 and the USS Nimitz. If it's ever on the telly or you see it in a DVD, buy it and watch it, because it's a good film and it's got a bit of a twist at the end. I'm not going to pick that up because the missiles might fall off. Very good indeed. Now, this is an MG sports car. Beautiful looking car. Favourite mount of RAF fighter pilots during the Second World War. This is off 1985. I can remember that because that was when I was 21, all those centuries ago. I have got the engine painted and it's all detailed, but I'm not going to take the bonnet off because I think it's glued. Put that down and I'll go on to my last one, which is this. This is a Polish Lancer. I think it's first Lancer of the Guard around the period of the Battle of Waterloo. Now if you look at all the detail on there, it's blurred now. It would take me a magnifying glass to do that now, because my eyes is not what they used to be. But I enjoyed making this kit. If you look at the detail on the tunic, I've got no minutes left. I'll have to go now and I'll get another disc in. Keep modelling, and I'll see you on the next video.